in answering some of the questions that you will have. And as well, give comments in case we miss one or two things in this presentation. So if we have any Chevening alumni in the who has joined, can you please introduce yourself? I see. Okay, I think they have not yet joined, but I will proceed with this. So our previous session, we did talk about general information about Chevening scholarship application, how to navigate the platform, what are the things you need to have here and there. And a number of you turned up that day. So today we are diving deep into the most important element of the application, and those are the 4 essays you have. So in this session, we will only focus on 2 essays, the leadership and influencing essay, which will be presented by me, and then the networking and relationship building, which will be presented by my colleague Yvette from Rwanda. She's a new scholar who got selected this year. So, and then the next session will be about the last 2 essays, and that will be studying in the UK and career plan. So we've broken this into similar portions because we want to give you time to really digest these components and come up with good essay that is something presentable. And then at the end of the last session, we will have an essay review for those of you that have written your essays. We will share an email address where you send your draft essays, and then we can review them and give you feedback there. But there are conditions to that, which you will see in the due course of the presentation. So let's dive straight into this presentation. And in my outline of the presentation, I'm going to talk about leadership and influencing essay. So I will talk about 5 key areas. Number 1 is breaking down the question into similar bits so you'll be able to understand. And the second one is to share tips on writing a great essay. And number 3, I will now share with you real examples of successful essays that got Cheveners selected, thanks to those who willingly shared their essays with me so we could use for the purpose of this. And then I will give a chance for questions specific to my presentation, if there is any. And then after that, my colleague will chip in and present their part of the relationship building and networking essay. And you will also have a question and questions following that. And finally, we will have time for general questions. If you're facing any challenges here and there in your essays or any other question that you have, you will have time to ask. And finally, I will talk about what to do in the next sessions. What are the next steps? How do we proceed about, reviewing your essays? What are the conditions attached to those? All right, so let's dive in straight. Question breakdown. So the leadership essay, the question is always the same. I mean, it can be tweaked a little bit, but basically it has the same component. And what you see highlighted in blue is the leadership question that always comes every year. And it says that Chevening is looking for individuals who will be future leaders or influencers in their home countries. Explain how you meet this requirement using clear examples of your own leadership and influencing skills to support your answers. Minimum word count 100 words. Maximum word count 500 words. So you have the question in front of you like this. What are you supposed to do? Do you just start writing, or do you need to do something? So I think the best thing for you to do is to break down this question into the similar components so that when you're writing your essay, you will be able to address each of the components that are mentioned in the essay. For example, the first component is future leaders and influencers. This is what the essay is asking for here. And how you meet this requirement. Okay, so basically it's asking how you can demonstrate that you're a future leader with examples. So here we recommend that you give 3 to 4 examples, but usually maximum number of examples is 3, because by 3 examples you would have already exhausted your 500 words. And please don't give one example, because here it says with example. So I think if you give one example, you might undersell yourself. And finally, you need to note the word count. Remember, you're limited to only 500 words. These are very few words, by the way, for people who know how what this means. And so it means that you really have to be very efficient in delivering your message in very few words, but it has to be very clear. I don't advise you writing 100 words for your essay, even though here they say minimum is 100 words. On average, for successful scholars, I've seen them write about 400 words, 450. My own were like 480, 490 there. So please try to maximize those words if you want to really come up with a winning essay. So this is what you do when you read the question. Break it down that way so that your answers are to address each of those components. Don't leave anything untouched. So what are the tips for writing a great essay? Now that you've broken your question down, what do you do next? How do you start writing, right? Sometimes it gets daunting. You start writing and the words are not coming, the examples are not coming. And when you compare with, other people's essays, maybe that you watch on YouTube or online, you see them writing, these really fascinating essays, and you begin to doubt yourself. I think I'm not for Chevening. I think I can't write essays like that. I haven't done those things, these kind of questions. Don't worry, we were all there. We did face those challenges, but you don't need to give up. Instead, do the following if you are stuck, like you don't know what to do to start writing your essays. And the first one is to do the brainstorming session. So basically what you're doing here, you're not writing down perfect essays or perfect, you just put in bullet points of examples that you think are great, that demonstrate leadership. So you can jot them down as many as you could. And if you can still not think about any of those ideas, you can then go and ask yourself, what accomplishments make me proud? In my 2 years of experience, remember 2 years was the condition of work experience, and it could be volunteering. So what makes me really proud about myself? What have I done? So you begin to remember some of these instances in your professional field where you really did something good. So you could jot those down, because those are potential examples that can go into your into your leadership essay. You could as well ask, what my boss was proud. What did I make my boss proud about? What were my friends proud about me? You might not think about, you might, doubt yourself, but ask around, oh, did I do anything interesting in the office that my boss was proud about? Could this go into my, examples? And, keep adding the bullet points. You can list as many as 10. You can also, revise your CV and check. You could find that, there is something really interesting there that you did that you forgot. So, dig out everything that you think are potential leadership examples. You jot them down. After putting all those down, I know some of you already have done that, but if you haven't started, no problem. It's not too late. The deadline is still in September. You can focus and be able to do that. So after, jotting down your examples, let's say you've jotted down like 6 or 10, what do you do next? So you need to begin to, eliminate the weak points. You knock out the weak points, and then until you're left with like 3 or 4 strong ones that you're really confident that this could go to my essay. After having, identified those 4 strong examples, remember they are still bullet points or just tracks, they are not organized. And then the next thing you need to do is now to develop those examples using the STAR approach. And STAR approach, we did talk about it in the beginning, but I can re-emphasize STAR approach stands for the situation, the task, the action, the results, and sometimes you need to add the L, which is the lessons you learn in the process. So why the STAR approach? The reading panel, the independent reading panel of these essays in London, they don't know you and they are not experts in your career, in your area of profession. And for them to understand the circumstances under which you write in your essay or you did your work, you need to give them a whole overview of that situation. So that's why you need the first S, that's the situation. And then you need to tell them what tasks needed to be done at that, at that point. And what action did you do? What action did you take? And what were the results of what you did? And sometimes you need to add the lesson plan, but you could end in the results section. So in the STAR approach, I like to emphasize on the action. A lot of people get it wrong. Sometimes you've done a group project and then you use the language, we did this, we did that. No, Chevening doesn't know what you have done as an individual. Maybe you just escorted those people in the group and you didn't do anything. You need to personalize this and say, I did A, B, C, D. The reading panel wants to know what you do as an individual. Yes, it could be a group project, but there is a specific role that you did. So you could say, I did A, B, C, D, and then you could acknowledge the friends that you did this work together. Of course, you're not going to claim it yourself. Otherwise, could be a lie or something. But make sure that you use the language I, not we did this, we did that. And we've seen a lot of these examples in the previous essays we reviewed. Even though we emphasize in this session, people still bring those essays. So please take note of that. And then in the results, of course, you try to quantify as much as possible with numbers, tell us what is the impact in percentage, in proportions, or whichever method you can quantify. So after developing your examples, those are still individual examples developed using the STAR approach. Remember, you're writing an essay, you're not writing examples. So what do you need to do next? The next thing you need to do is to now structure your essay to make it a complete essay with all those examples consolidated into a single essay. How do you structure this essay? Basic elements of any essay, not just a Chevening scholarship essay. It could be academic essay, or you're writing a dissertation. It has these 3 basic components. That's the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. So basically, in the introduction, it's like, tell me what you want to tell me. And then the body is, tell me now. And then the conclusion is, tell me what you just told me. So this is basically how you structure your essay. I see a lot of comments in the section. I will come to that. Right now, I'm sharing my screen. I think I will not be able to look at those. Yeah, so structure your essay in that way, such that the introduction briefly, tells the reader what you're going to talk about, but also it has to be a really catchy statement, that hooks the reader and want them to read the rest of your essay already. If the introduction is boring, it kills the interest of the reader and they might not actually complete reading your essay. So make sure you put really a very, very catchy statement, but most importantly, it should underscore, in summary, what you're going to talk about. And that's why we call it, tell me what you want to tell me. And then in the body now, this is where you actually put your examples, all your examples, 2 or 3, you put them in the body. This is where you discuss everything in detail. And that is what we call it, tell me now. And then in the conclusion, you summarize what you just talked about, and that's why we call it tell me what you just told me. And of course, you could, add something to do with why you want to study. You want to go and do a master's in the UK, to justify why you're writing this essay, because that's the entire purpose. So these are just brief tips, and you're going to see how they play out in real examples in my next slides, where we structure these, and then you will be able to see really what that means. So let's dive straight to examples. And in this example, don't just focus. These are examples, by the way, of real Chevening alumni or scholars who got the scholarship. So this is a winning essay you're seeing here. But of course, you're not going to copy it. It will not help you. This is already an essay in the database. And if you do that, you will be caught plagiarism. These are all in the Chevening database. So you cannot copy someone. What you need to do is to develop your own unique essay. But of course, let this essay inspire you. So what I want to focus on this essay is the different color codes. This is a single essay, but we coded them in different colors to try to emphasize the star approach, what each color means. So I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to break it down for you to understand what this means, because we want you to replicate your essays this way to capture everything. So this colleague says that at the height of COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, I was a medical doctor and facility in charge in Maban County, Upper Nile State of South Sudan, serving Sudanese refugees in large camps there. Apart from facing COVID-19 challenges, I also had community conflicts to deal with. For 2 days in July that year, the Nsangana and Uduk refugee communities had heightened tensions that led to confinement of relocatable facility staff at our base. This paralyzed medical services at the facility. I engaged our security officer and project manager to engage the UNHCR in Maban office. UNHCR office in Maban. In a meeting with UNHCR, it was resolved to involve all stakeholders to bring peace. This resulted in the host community and county government leaders bringing the refugee communities to a round table to end the conflict, and normal medical services resumed. I learned that taking a step as a leader in times of difficulty and involving stakeholders brings success. So quickly, what do you learn from this essay here? You see that the black color here is the context. This person tried to, give the circumstances under which he was working, so that the reader can know, oh, this person was operating in the middle of the pandemic, and then they had other intercommunal problems. That is it. So from there, you will be able to understand now from the situation, what is the task needed? Of course, this conflict is beginning to interfere with medical services. So what needs to be done definitely is to stop the conflict such that services can resume. So in red is the task. These communities paralyze these medical services, and there is need for action to be taken for these services to be resumed. And what did this person do exactly? That is his role. So the purple and the blue line talk about his action. He engaged the security officer and project manager to engage other partners. So what he did is engage other people, bring this problem in the attention of other people, so that there is a step taken to address it. After engaging these people, you see now meetings are being held, high-level meetings are being held to resolve this conflict, bringing all stakeholders on a round table. And what is the result? The result is in green. The result of this is that the host community and the government leaders, they sat together, and then the conflict was put to an end. Normal services resumed. So you understand. This person really, you don't have to be a big person, a governor, to do this, but for you to take a step, to bring this issue to the attention of the people. That is it. That's the action you've done. And it's significant because in the end, you see the results, conflict stopped, services resumed. And he continued to actually put the lesson that he learned from this example and said that I learned that taking a step as a leader in times of difficulty and involving stakeholders brings success. As simple as that. This is one of the examples for someone that has shared his. I'm going to go to the next example and then the third example, and then I will pause to take specific questions from you. If you already are, facing challenges in your essay, you could also be taking notes actually from here and see how it can, help you structure your essay. Let's look at the second example. This person says, in 2021, I worked in the Ministry of Health as HIV/TB field officer in Western Equatoria State, South Sudan. We were 7 field officers in the region with various competency levels under a single supervisor based in Juba. To improve our performances, I created a WhatsApp group for our interactions as colleagues sharing of our examples and providing peer mentorship to each other. Through these interactions, I initiated monthly meetings on Zoom for experience sharing and learning, took notes of such meetings and shared with our supervisor in Juba, who dearly appreciated my leadership role among my peers. Through this team mobilization, I spearheaded the resumption of the State HIV/TB Technical Working Group monthly meetings and strengthened the State Ministry of Health supervision of the HIV program. This resulted in a 5% state program growth through stronger facility staff mentorship and supervision of implementing partner. So again, I've coded them in different colors, and you can see that the blue writing is the situation. This person was working as a HIV/TB officer in a certain location in South Sudan. That is the context that sets the ground for your subsequent write-up and what needed to be done. This person highlighted that there were 7 people with varying levels of competencies. So what does that mean? It means that there could probably be a competency gap or variation in their areas of expertise and competencies that need to be consolidated, because if not, there might be a challenge working together or something. But of course, these are too many words. This sentence just summarizes everything: variation in competence. And this is the task that needs to be done to address the competency issue here. What did he do in purple and blue? To improve our performance, I created a WhatsApp group for our interaction as colleagues, sharing our experiences and providing peer mentorship to each other. And through this interaction, I initiated ABCD. So you can see now he did things to address this competency gap. And these are the actions in purple and blue. You could have many actions in a single essay or just a single action, as long as they all contribute to addressing the issue. So what is the result of this action? There is a 5%, this resulted in a 5% state program growth through stronger facility staff mentorship, supervision, and in the implementing partner. So you see, all this action resulted into something tangible for this particular person here. So I'm sorry, our questions are biased to the health section because, public health, medical, but whatever your field is, you could be an engineer, you could be a lawyer. I think there are still lessons you can take from here to improve your your whatever essay you're writing. For example, you could be an engineer, you're working in the oil fields, and there are challenges with, potential oil leakage that could contaminate water or something. And what did you do? Maybe you brought this to the attention of the head of that company, and then you notified the community members, and then together, you are able to put up alternative water sources for these people in case their main water source is contaminated and stuff like that. So, just transfer these kind of examples to your field and try to visualize in your head what did you do. Develop your examples using the same STAR approach, and you will see that you can really be able to write similar essays that are good. During our reviews, of course, we will give you your comments, but we make sure you try your best to develop your essay. So the third example I want to share is not just an isolated example like this, but it's a complete essay. As you remember in the tips, I say that in the end, you need to consolidate your examples into a single essay. So that is going to be my own essay with all the examples there, so that you could see what an entire essay looks like. And here's all my 3 examples. I'm gonna stop sharing this screen so that I can share the Microsoft Word version, since the essay is a bit much, couldn't fit in one slide. Just a moment. Okay, can you all see my screen? Can someone confirm that they can see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, it's visible.
All right, so what you're looking here is my essay of leadership, the one that got me the scholarship. I've tried to structure it. This is not what an essay looks like. It's supposed to be just a seamless one document separated by paragraphs, but I've put in the introduction, the body, and the conclusion just to emphasize what I talked about in the tips that I shared with you earlier. That your essay has to have an introduction that is catchy and summarizes what you're going to talk about, and then the body now has your examples. Here are my 3 examples, which I have structured them in the STAR approach, and then it has to have a conclusion. So please, when you're writing your essay, stop adding this conclusion, body, and introduction. This is just for the purpose of understanding. So I'm going to read this essay and give some remarks about it from the introduction, the body, and then the conclusion. So, introduction. During an Ebola virus preparedness training in Juba, a World Health Organization epidemiologist once described South Sudan as the richest country in diseases. While I agree with his statement, I strongly believe that strengthening the presently weak health system through good leadership and governance could change this reality. As an ambitious health leader who desires a strong and sustainable health system, I have diligently executed leadership roles in my career over the years. Amid political tension in South Sudan, I have demonstrated leadership in the health sector through training of health workers, providing healthcare to citizens, and participating in disease outbreak investigation, surveillance, and response. Full stop. This is my introduction. What do you see from this introduction? First, I tried hard to make sure that my introduction is catchy, that it's a bit interesting for the reader to want to know what's next. But most importantly, I summarize what I'm going to talk about, basically my essays in this last part of the essay. And I say, I demonstrated leadership in the health sector through one, training of health workers. And this is going to be my first example. Providing healthcare to citizens. This is going to be my second example. Participating in disease outbreak investigation, surveillance, and response. This is going to be my third example. So, again, going to our structure, tell me what you want to tell me. This is what it means to summarize what you're going to talk about so that whoever is reading knows that there is content in this essay. So they will be focused and prepared and, ready to read the next part of your essay. So let's go to the body and let's read my first example. See, my examples are really very short, but they have all the elements of the STAR approach. So the first example, I said, first and foremost, due to the high shortage of healthcare workers in South Sudan, the International Medical Corps, UNFPA, and South Sudan Ministry of Health partnered in a project to train health workers locally. Working as a consultant health trainer in this project between 2015 and 2017, I trained hundreds of healthcare professionals pursuing diploma in various medical fields in Kajukeji County-based Health Training Institute. These students eventually excelled in their national examinations and are now in the forefront of the healthcare system in South Sudan, saving lives. As brief as that, it has all the elements of the STAR approach. So the situation, the S is the black one. And what I highlighted here is that there is shortage of healthcare workers. That is it. That is the context, shortage of healthcare workers in the country, right? And what is the task? What needs to be done? Obviously, train people locally. And this is what these organizations have initiated. I did not initiate it. But what did I do? I worked in this program as a consultant to teach the people, teach the health workers who are pursuing different courses, clinical medicine, laboratory, midwifery, name it, in this particular area. That's it. That's my action. And what is the result? The result is to address the issue of the shortage of health workers. I trained these people, they graduated, and now they are in the healthcare, sector serving lives. So literally, we are addressing the issue of shortage of health workers. As simple as that. And that is my entire example. It looks very simple, but it's actually quite difficult and time-consuming to come to synthesize it to this level. By the way, my first draft of essay was 5,000 words. So it takes time for you to synthesize and eliminate unnecessary information to really come up with a STAR approach. And that's why I encourage people to work on their essays on a daily basis to understand what needs to be included, because you're not always in your best state of mind. So maybe in the morning you're so tired you can't do anything, but tomorrow or in the evening, you remember something that you could actually add in the essay. So note it down and quickly sneak it there, because that can help. Okay, going to the second example. Again, I said, during the 2016-2018 cholera outbreak across South Sudan, I volunteered in the National Outbreak Response Program at the National Public Health Laboratory, and eventually got hired by the WHO as a laboratory technology station at the National Public Health Laboratory. Basically, I tested stool samples for cholera and trained government employees and volunteers who formed part of my team. As a former volunteer, I inspired my volunteer team to use volunteerism to contribute to the society, build their skills, and increase their employability. Eventually, my enormous and selfless effort did not only build the capacity of my team, but to the greater extent contributed to ending the cholera outbreak. Moreover, I co-authored an article about this outbreak that continued to benefit scholars on the BMC Infectious Diseases Institute. Again, look at the STAR approach. What is the situation? There was an outbreak in the country, so it's a big thing. The reader already knows there is something big, so he would already be interested to see what did you do about this outbreak. And What is the action, the task at hand is, of course, the outbreak needs to be addressed, it needs to be responded to. And that is what I did by volunteering in this response, which eventually got me a job there. So what are the actions specifically that I did? I did the testing. Here I was testing these samples for cholera and communicating the results. But at the same time, when I was working there, I also started to train new volunteers who came in, as well as, government personnel who also worked there, to transfer these skills that I've learned to them to build their capacity. And that is what I did. And what is the result of this action? I did not only build their capacity, yes, I built their capacity, but the greater outcome is that we managed to fight this outbreak until the end. At the same time, we wrote a research article that was published in a peer-reviewed journal, which now a lot of researchers interested in infectious diseases like cholera, they are using it, they are referencing it, they are citing it. So it's a huge contribution that you've made, that I've made in this research, in this area. So that's my second example. Let me go to the final example, and then I'll open the floor for questions. So my third example, again, is very brief. I say that throughout the 2018 reported meningitis outbreak in Torrid County, I was deployed by the WHO to lead the sample collection process and build the capacity of laboratory technicians in Torrid State Hospital. Having done that, I returned to Juba, collected samples, led the testing process, and prepared outbreak report. The outcome of this investigation, which ruled out the outbreak of meningitis, was used by the Ministry of Health and WHO to restore calm in the country. Okay, so again, the situation is simple, it's self-explanatory. There is a reported outbreak, and what is the task at hand? That outbreak needs to be investigated to see whether it's true or it's not. What did I do? I was deployed to lead the sample collection process and also train people there so that once I leave there, they should have the capacity to continue to investigate it on their own in, subsequent reported outbreaks. And I also came and led the testing process and prepared the outbreak report. And what is the result? The result is that this information, this report was used by WHO and the ministry to restore calm. So just think of the COVID-19 pandemic and how people were anxious about it. People are worried there could be a disease here. We don't know what it is. But then we did the laboratory test and we found out that actually there is no meningitis. So that info alone, is being used to, to restore people's calm. So conclusion. We said in the conclusion part, it's about tell me what you just told me. So in conclusion, I have led and influenced thousands of people throughout my career, which contributed to strengthening the health system of my country. However, I need to advance my knowledge and skills by studying a master's degree in the UK to better contribute to the development of the health system in South Sudan. So the first statement here, I summarize everything there I did. But then I went on to add that actually I'm not confident about my skills, that I need to, learn more skills so that I can be an expert and to contribute more to this country. And that's why I'm applying for this scholarship. So always show that you lack something, and that's why you're applying for this scholarship. Otherwise, if you know everything, you're an expert, why are you going for further knowledge? You already know things. So please take note of that. So that is it about my examples, which is summarizes the entire essay into one thing. But as I mentioned earlier, this is what the essay is supposed to look like. You don't need those headings. You don't need everything there. Your essay is supposed to look like that. You don't need those headings. So you see, this is how your essay is supposed to be. Just complete, no need for headings. And then you'll be conscious of the word count. This one, I wrote it in 456 words. So I'm going to unshare this screen now, and we will continue to our next step, which is questions. I think I've presented quite a number of examples here, and I want to give you a chance to ask any questions specific to this presentation, and then we can proceed to the next part of the essay, that is networking. So please, if you do have any questions, or if you have them in the chat box, this is the time for you to ask any questions. I'm going to unshare my screen.
There are no serious questions in the chat box. Maybe if the participants have questions, they can raise their hands. If you have any questions, kindly raise your hand, or if you are in a noisy place, you can drop your questions in the chat box. Thank you.
All right. If there are no,
Check if your colleague has already joined. What is the name of your you just check the participant list to see if
yes, I've seen Yvette has already joined. Welcome, Yvette. We also have I see Rombek is actually concluding his studies in the UK. So Rombek, thank you for joining. We will need your contribution in answering any questions that will come on your way. If there is no question this far, it means that probably the presentation was clear and that people understood. I'm going to give the floor for my colleague
I think I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I was actually using my phone and I was struggling to raise my hand. First of all, thank you so much, Lubajo. I think this is really very great presentation. I do appreciate. My question is in terms of the connection between the examples that you give and the course that you have applied for, because I've seen all your three examples, they are actually within the healthy sector, and I want to assume that maybe the master's program that you applied for, I mean the course was actually related to health, or actually is in the healthy sector. But sometimes you may find that, for those who have done, humanities, social sciences, you find that today, maybe you have one examples in the education sector. Tomorrow, you have another one in peace building. The next day, you have another one, in community engagement, civic education. And, these are all, separated kind of, examples. So I don't know, based on the experience, whether the examples that you should be putting in your essay should relate to the course that you're applying for. Thank you.
Thank you, Marin. This is a great question, and I'll give opportunity for the other scholars to also answer. But I will start by saying, yes, your essays must be related. They must be coherent. Right from your leadership to your career plan, there must be a relation. I think, I don't know if you attended the previous session, but we did talk about this, that you either write examples of essays in your area in your area of education or in your area of experience, because you may realize that you studied engineering, but you end up getting a job where you're working in civic education or advocacy, and you have huge experience in that area. So that means that should be your area, your chosen area. But don't mix up your examples. Choose one area that you focus on. You cannot study engineering, your leadership examples are in engineering, and then you want to go and study medicine, and then your career plan is you want to be a lawyer. You see, that's really a stark contrast, and Chevening will not give you the scholarship because they want you to be focused. Choose your examples wisely. If you have strong examples that are not in your area of practice, then you have to think of other examples that you can put there to really make your essay coherent. Otherwise, you can write great examples, but if they are not connected in a way, then it will be difficult for you to go through. So think about that. And these are some of the things that we give in people's comments when we review their essays. But it's your duty to make sure that your essays are coherent. Can somebody add to that, Romberg or Gibet?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was about to dash out. I have something that is coming up in the next 5 minutes. I don't know if it's afternoon. Yeah. Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you, colleagues there, Lubajo, and the rest of the participants. Just to add my voice. Thank you for the excellent presentation of taking us through the examples and that kind of thing. Rombek. I work for GAS. That's why you're saying they are Rombek GAS. That's my organization back home. Currently, I'm in the UK trying to finish up my stay here this September. Well, just to respond to the question raised by one of the attendees, it is absolutely very prudent that you link all your discussion, because much as we have 4 essays, but at the end of the day, if you combine those 4 essays, it must give you a dossier of a flow of who you are. So they made it uniquely in the sense that they wanted to separate them so that at least you are able to pause in a certain time and jump to the next level. But the essence is that the essays must flow. They must be connected right from essay 1 of leadership up to the last 4th essay, such that when you put, for instance, you put it together in one document, it must really tell a story. It must not have a diversion and that kind of stuff. So yes, you must have coherence, and the flow of the essays. Assume that you are writing one essay of 2,000 words, but broken down into 500s. That's my response to that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Romberg. I hope that helps Marine. And I think in the interest of time, we might not take other responses or other questions. Before we go to Yvette's presentation, I'd just like to inform members here that towards the end of this presentation, we will take our attendance, and you will have to complete a Google form that we will post the link here. And that will be your evidence of attendance. And that means that when you drop out early in this presentation, you might miss out on the attendance. Attendance is a precondition for us to review your essays. So you have to attend this and then attend the next session. Only those are the people who review their essays. So please stick on and until the end of this presentation. Thank you. So Yvette, can you please come on with your presentation? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we
you're
can hear
loud and
you
clear.
loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. So my name's Yvette Nziza, and I was awarded Chevening this year. I will leave to September for my UK studies, and I'm going to take you through the networking essay. Allow me to remove my video for the sake of a strong internet connection, if you don't mind. I want to share my screen. Can you remove your screen? Because I have to share mine. They're saying one participant shared at this time.
I think I unshared my screen.
Okay, let me share mine now. Okay, can you all see my screen, please?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. Thank you very much. As I told you, I'm going to present about how to write a networking essay. I did this presentation with Lejo Benjamin, and here is what we go through. So actually, during the application process, this is how the question asks. The question is like, Chevening is looking for individuals with strong professional relationship building skills who will engage with the Chevening community and influence and lead others in the chosen profession. Please explain how you build and maintain relationships in a professional capacity using clear examples of how you currently do this and outline how you hope to use the skills in the future. So this is how the question asked, and what are they willing to see within this essay? They want to see your strong professional relationship building skills. They want to make sure that you are someone who can actually engage with the community and influence, as well as lead others, because within the Chevening, you also have to engage with the Chevening alumni as well. And they also want to see how you build and maintain relationships in a professional capacity. And within this essay, you have to show the clear examples of how you currently do this and how you hope to use such networking skills in the future as a Chevening alumni. So how do we mainly write this? As my colleague Lubajo have been explaining, we use the STAR approach. For the leadership essay and the networking essay, we use the STAR approach. So the STAR approach is where you have to show the situation, and then you show what the task was and what you did, as well as what the results were after what you did. So he went through them, but we will also go through them as I show you the examples of the essay. But it is good to also precise the time where this has happened, like when did you network with these people and what has it given you in the past. We're going to dig deep within this when you go to the examples. And as per the other Chevening essays, your words must be less or equal to 500 words. It means all the paragraphs combined, you have to have 500 words, and you have to give 3 to 4 examples. However, all these examples must follow the STAR approach, as I told you before. And then you will have to make sure that your paragraphs do not exceed 500 words combined. So going into paragraphs, the first paragraph is like an introduction, like of what networking is to you. We're gonna see the examples, and then you give your first example with the STAR approach, of course. The paragraph 2 has also to be an example. The paragraph 3 has to also be an example, and then the conclusion afterwards. So mainly for the paragraphs, you are giving the examples of where you have applied the networking skills within your professional background. And all these paragraphs all these examples of yours, they must follow the STAR approach, like where you saw the situation, the task, the action, as well as the results. And then for your conclusion, that is where you now show how the networking skills that we get from Chevening will actually help you in the future context. So we're gonna go deep in this when you go to the examples. So like this is one example. In 2017, at Kijadongo District Hospital, like this is like an intro of this sentence. It's not yet the situation. You are just showing the time where what the example I'm going to show happened, and also the place. It's just like an intro sentence, the example I'm going to give. I identified the lack of glucometers. Sorry. Yes. Okay. In 2017 at Kijadongo District Hospital, this is like an intro sentence as I told you. I identified lack of glucometers on the ward as a challenge to emergency care of patients, such as the unconscious ones and those ones with diabetic emergencies. So this is like the situation, no? Like within this particular hospital, there were a lack of glucometers, and these patients with emergency conditions like unconsciousness and diabetic emergencies, it was a challenge for them because there were no glucometers, right? And then to celebrate the 16th Lewis Day on December 15th, 17th. This is also like an intro, what is going to follow. I mobilized 5 Leo Club members to raise funds from the local community, the local council vice chairperson, and the resident district commissioner to buy 4 glucometers and 10 packets of strips. So this is like what? This is like the task. After realizing what the challenge was at the time of the glucometers, you decided to actually raise funds from the local community, the chairperson, the district commissioner, to get like 4 and 10 packets. So this was like the task that you did. And then what was the action now? Remember, the star is situation, task, action, and result. We delivered these glucometers on each of the medical, surgical, pediatric, and maternity wards of the hospital in a ceremony graced by the district police commander. So this is like what you did. After mobilizing them, then we decided to give them to all the wards in emergency, of course. And then for this and other achievement, I was presented the Distinguished Service Award 2017. So this is like the result of what you did. So this is an example of one of this, like of following the STAR approach for writing the Chevening essays, right? And then this is, for example, the second example. At Juba Teaching Hospital, HIV testing often faces a challenge of staff going on strike because of non-payment of the incentive in supporting partners. So this is like an intro sentence. You're trying to explain to them how like the system itself is in general, you know, like within this particular hospital in Juba, there are always challenges of strike of people because of not paying incentives, right? This is like a general idea of how it happens in Juba. Now, you're going to give your example. Starting in September 2022, the government staff went on strike because the incentive that used to be paid by Cord Aid, a global fund implementing partner supporting tuberculosis services at Juba Teaching Hospital, was removed. So this was now what? This was the situation, right? So in September this time, please be mindful of the time. You would see that in all the paragraphs that you are reading, you start with when was that particular thing happened. So this was in September 2022 when the government staff went on strike because the incentive that used to be paid by Cord Aid and Global Fund supporting TB services were removed. So that was the situation. And now, what was the task? So since the Center for International Programs, ICAP supports the HIV program at GTH, and HIV testing services fall in my portfolio at ICAP, I had to intervene. So this is like an intro sentence. You're trying to tell them that also within the ICAP, there was some support for the HIV programs. So this is like an intro sentence of what is going to follow. Because you cannot come immediately and say, in September, the government strike went off because the incentive used to be paid by Global Fund and Cord Aid has stopped, without mentioning that that incentive was there before, and it was something which was actually there, which sometimes stops, right? So even here, he could not introduce ICAP without explaining how it falls into the matter. So this is like an intro sentence. They are also allowed to be put in the paragraph for the networking essay. And now, what was the task? So in October, you see them, he is mentioning the time. I escalated this matter to our ICAP top management and director of HIV, TB, hepatitis, STIs at the MOH. So he raised this matter to the director for ICAP. So it means this is what now? This is the task. And then what was the action? Through the director, a meeting was organized between ICAP, Cord Aid, and Juba Teaching Hospital staff in the MOH to address the staff grievances. Clear explanations of the issue of incentives was given by the MOH leadership to the staff, and that was to be discussed at the donors level, which was Global Fund for Cord Aid and PEPFAR for ICAP, right? So this was what? This was like the action, where now they had to be presented the issue, and then agreed that the leadership is going to sit somewhere and then we do something on this matter. And then what was the result after what what this meeting, which was actually the action. After this meeting, what happened? Then the GTH staff understood the matter and resumed offering the other incentives, while the donor continued the high-level discussions about this matter. This intervention resulted in service continuity and prompt data reporting. So you could see that after the meeting now, what was the result afterward? That was just that the Juba Teaching Hospital decided to cover that particular loss, which was present at time as the discussion goes. And now the people of Juba, the patients have been served because the staff have not continued to leave the hospital. So you could see that within this networking paragraphs, you don't have to say big things. Some people tend to lie, like you're trying to say how, for example, you brought the WHO director with the Minister of Health in your country, you know. Some people tend to lie within the essays, or even for the glucometers, some people can tend to say I mobilized for like 1,000 glucometers. So always you have to make sure that your results are measurable within the STAR approach, right? Sometimes when you're lying in essays, people can actually see that. So you see that when you say simple things that you actually did, you which are very possible, no one can adapt your essays. So never pretend to give any room for your essays to be adapted. At any time, you have to always say the truth of what happened, and as simple as it is, as you see within these essays. For Chevening, you don't have to show that you're just an extraordinary person from heaven, right? And then this is like a third example, which also showed this essay. So at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, I was appointed the focal point for the UN clinic management. This is like an intro sentence of what is going to follow, right? And then at that time, access to COVID-19 polymerase chain reaction test in South Sudan was difficult, and UN staff were not an exception. So this challenge affected UN staff who intended to travel out of the country or those that were COVID-19 symptomatic. So this is like what the situation was, you know, there were no PCR tests for COVID-19, and then the UN staff would always go outside the country to get the testing, right? And then using my relationship with that organization, being a former staff, I convinced both the laboratory manager and the acting director general for the NP, whatever, to give priority to testing UN staff. So this is what she actually did. That was the action, right? And then the success of this request related to UN staff getting the PCR test results timely. So that is what now, that is like what the result has been after his action of convincing the laboratory manager that UN staff are always to be given the priority. And then the PCR tests were availed, and then the results were yielded on time. So this is an example. And then this is one of the conclusion example. Remember, I told you that to write an intro within this part. I told you that to write an intro and then body paragraph 1, 2, 3, and then the conclusion, right? So this is the one of the conclusion I gave. Remember, for the conclusion, you have to show how the Chevening scholarship will actually help you build your networks and what will come after with your networking skills after the Chevening. So here he said, I believe that if I am awarded, this is actually mine, I believe that if I am awarded a Chevening scholarship, it will be a unique opportunity to make networks through Chevening events, scholars, alumni, fellow campus students, volunteer, and organize our activities with local organizations in the UK, as well as the Rwandan chapter. Thus, keep me impacting my community. So this is like an example of a conclusion you can give on your networking essay. So always the conclusion has to go with what now with your networking essays, and then the Chevening. How are you going to use the networking skills within the Chevening scope, and how will that impact your future? So this is like an example of the conclusion you can actually give. So thank you very much. I hope I tried to explain more. Yeah, your questions are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvette, for this wonderful presentation. And members, if you have any questions relating to her presentation, be prepared to ask. But I just want to emphasize something that Yvette mentioned, and that is to be authentic in giving your examples. Okay, don't be too idealistic or to lie in your essay, because this will be tested in the interviews and it will be proven that you did not do that. So that means you're literally setting yourself for failure. Also, another thing, make sure you are the one who write this essay. Don't go to someone to write for you your essays, because you will fail to defend them in the interviews. There will be questions that these people know how to prove that what you're claiming, you actually did them. And if you cannot answer them, or if you begin to panic, it means you did not do those and you automatically fail. So make sure, take charge of your essays. Don't consult other people to write for you. Take time to understand them, because the interview questions come from these essays. Yes, so if you have any questions for Yvette regarding the networking and relationship building essay, please go ahead and raise your questions. You could raise your hand if you have any questions. If you do not have any questions now, and then I will proceed.
Yeah, I think I have one. This is Maring. Thank you so much, Yvette. I think this has been quite comprehensive. Congratulations. To be honest, I fail to see the difference between the examples given in the leadership section and the one that you have just given also on the networking. They seem to be similar. I don't know, maybe I've missed a point, but like that element of networking, I'm not seeing it really coming out clearly. So maybe if you can throw more light, I would appreciate. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Actually, for the networking essay, it's about who you met and then what you did, right? So that's the difference between the networking and the leadership. Remember, they both go with the STAR approach. Both the leadership essay applied the STAR approach, and also the networking one applied the STAR approach. However, for the networking, is about who you met, like here I met the local council vice chairperson, like how you actually connect with people. Maybe I can also show you mine. Allow me to project mine as well. Sorry, it's too slow here. Maybe Lubajo can be explaining as I open mine.
Okay, thank you, Marin, for raising this question. Actually, I'm happy you asked, because this thing, the leadership and networking, these things actually tend to overlap. At some point, I had to switch one of my examples from leadership to networking. Why? Because they are quite similar, but if you look critically, you will see the elements of networking, of working with people, versus just things that you did on your own. Yes, it could involve working with people. For example, let's look at this example of this guy. Actually, his actions is that he mobilized 5 Leo Club members. All right. So you see, mobilizing people is networking. How did you know these people, first of all? Okay, you have to meet them and mobilize them. Yes, it can also fit in leadership, because you are doing something, but this one now you're dealing with people. You went on to mobilize these. We see the resident district commissioner is here. How did he know these people? All right. It is through networking that you know the district resident commissioner. Not everybody knows him, right? So look at this example and look at the people that are being mentioned. How is the networking happening there? That's how this happens. Otherwise, you're not wrong to be confused between the leadership and networking. They are interchangeable. Someone can just move this to leadership section and do a little bit of adjustment. It fits there perfectly. So these are some of the blur line between these two essays, and they're really very, very much similar. But thank you for raising this question. Yeah, okay, so I see another question. I hope, Maring, your question has been answered. Can we go to Victor Lee?
So maybe before Victory take over, I want to show you like my networking essay. So like as Lubajo said, is about who you met, like how you engage with people, how you engage with the community, all this, right? It has to appear in the networking essay. So this is like mine. This is like my introduction. Networking has been the foundation of where I am today, right? So that was like my small introduction, but you can even make it like 2 or 3 paragraphs, or even the whole paragraph being an introduction. So this is like one example. When I finished my secondary schools with these grades, I was ranked 7th countrywide in sciences. And then in June 2016, I was called into the camp of Indaga Mirwa, which brings together the best performance and the diaspora students. In the camp, I approached fellows and 6 best performers from the science combination, whom I was sure were coming to medical school with me. Proved my leadership potential since I was the representative in the camp. And in September 2016, at the university, they elected me to be the deputy class representative. And this has led me to be the representative and then the vice guild president. And this has pushed my ambitions towards community engagement. So that was like my first example. Another one was like during the WHSS symposium, 2016, I met Laura, the executive director of TUSA from Spain, whose work was focusing on maternal health. And then I showed them my interest towards preventing eclampsia and supported my idea and later founded the prenatal health project. So in general, this is actually like about meeting with people. And for me, I considered adding something about the social media as well, because you can connect with people via social media, where I showed that in December via Twitter, I came across the WMI funding opportunity, focusing on health promotions. And then after, I had to apply for the grant. And then one initiative to run awareness about breast and cervical cancer. And then with that, I was able to deliver all these talks, raise awareness about cervical cancer. So mainly the networking essay, if I can say, is about connecting with people. Like whichever essay you mention, you have to show like how you've been connecting with people. But as my colleague has said, it's very, very difficult. Even for it was my case, I had to shift one from up to down. But when you try to read and delve into it, we find that within the networking essay, you can never show not connecting with people, because it's about who you meet, like what was the situation, and then who you met, and then what happened afterwards. So it has to go within that scope.
Thank you. Thank you, Yvette, for that detailed explanation. I hope people understand. Before we go to Victor, let me actually quickly read the question of Barnaba Quad, who is asking, I think, the difference between networking and relationship building and relationship building and shared learning. Okay, so this is actually, there is no difference in these essays. Maybe one year they will ask you the question about networking, the following year they will use the language relationship building, but they're the same, because if you see networking or relationship building, same thing, so there is no difference there. You just continue to write your essays the same way. Victor, can you please ask your question?
Yeah, thank you very much, Lobajo and Dr. Yvette. Thank you for this session. In your examples, I see you have been mentioning only the international organizations, like people who have worked for international organizations. So I would like to know what happens to those who have never worked for international organizations and yet they have worked for other local actors, like say CBOs or refugee-led organizations. Is it worthy to share such examples like the essays? And then what happens to the local leaders during mobilization, like during your work that you happens to maybe meet with the local leaders? So is it worthy to also mention the local leaders that you met during your work with the local actors or CBOs or refugee-led organizations? Thank you.
All right, thank
Thank you very
you.
much
This is an interesting question. Okay, Yvette, I think is Rombek still in the chat, because he would be the best person to answer this question. He has worked with those organizations. Actually, he wasn't working with any international organizations, and yet he got the scholarship. Rombek, are you still there? Oh no, I think he has dropped out. Sorry, but I will try to answer, and then Yvette will also give her answers. So what I want to say is that this scholarship has nothing to do with whether you're working with this organization or not. You can exercise leadership in any organization that you are working with. It so happened that we were working with international organizations, but if you look critically in some of my examples, I was just a volunteer in a government facility, all right? But still, it was there in my essay, and then I got the scholarship. So this has nothing to do with organization. It is what you did in whatever setting you are that gets you the scholarship. Also, it has nothing to do with your title. You could be a cleaner or a security guard, as long as you did something interesting. You could be a security guard and saved the organization from robbery. That is a good example that you could put. So please don't worry about that. Just make sure you bring your examples clearly, whether you're working with a national NGO, you're volunteering, you're working with government, private sector, company, or even your own business. I've seen people who get the scholarship who started their own farm, like, you're doing this and that. Someone had a company for, I don't know, something, and he got the scholarship. So please don't worry, and let that not discourage you from applying. Otherwise, I think I'll let Yvette also add her contribution.
Yes, thank you very much. Starting on myself, I've not worked with any international organizations or just volunteering with local organizations. I got selected when I was actually graduated in 2022 August, and then did my internship for 1 year. I applied when I was still an intern, and then I was selected. So all my essays reflected just volunteering work with local organizations. Yeah, maybe some international conferences, but all my essays were about working with local, and I got selected. So it has nothing to do. You could even see my examples, university leadership. This one from RVCP is here in Rwanda. Awaken Her is here. Girl Guides, they're here. Speak Out is here. So I was not having anything huge with the international organization. It got picked. So yes, you have to mention where you have like a very good CV, of course, but don't get discouraged that you will not be selected because you are not in international organizations. No, you just have to explain your things well. I don't tend to lie that you worked with international organizations. It's not good.
Thank you. Thank
Just
you,
so
Yvette,
that-
for using. Yeah, thank you for bringing that experience. I hope Victor is now settled with his question. Also, don't forget, Chevening mentions that your years of experience include volunteering, part-time, full-time, internship, and paid job. So it doesn't have to be any specific thing. So this is absolutely up to how best you've done your essay. So please go ahead. I think this helps a lot of people who might have these questions as well. So Victor, I hope your question is answered.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, so I think we have a few minutes to the end of these presentations. Do you guys have any other questions with you, or should I proceed to the conclusion remarks? If there are no other questions, I'm gonna share my screen again. Yvette, can you unshare your screen so that I can share mine?
Online? I stopped sharing.
Yeah, can you stop sharing your screen?
Okay, fine.
All right, so I'm gonna share my screen. I would like to let members know that there is a link posted in the chat box, and please register your attendance, because this will be used to capture your attendance, and those who don't attend this session and the next one, their essays will not be reviewed. So please take the attendance seriously. Okay, so can you all see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so basically I'm just gonna walk you through the next sessions. In the next session, we are going to have a similar meeting, but that will discuss about the studying in the UK essay, how you can write it, what are the needs, and we will be presenting just like this. And then also the career plan essay, how do you come up with a good career plan that relates to your, that makes your essay coherent. So what you will need to do, again, you will also have to register for that event following this link. This link is going to be closed after this registration at 2:30, after everyone has registered, and then it will be open for the last session that will be the studying in the UK and then career plan essay. After that, once you have done the last session, we will then review the essays of those who are eligible. And what we need, what we shall do is to share an email address where you will send your essays in and we will review your essays. Remember that we are going to review your essays only once, so try your best to make sure that the essays that you're sharing are really, really good so that it makes the work of the reviewers very easy. We have taken you through all these sessions, so you should be able to write a really, really good essay by now. That's why we are giving you only one chance to review, hoping that you've taken all the tips and tricks we have shared with you to be able to come up with a good essay. This is reviewing your essay is conditional to the attendance of the last two sessions, which is this one and the next. I said that already, and you need to write a concise essay. Last year, we did similar session like this, and then we gave people mentorship, information session, all this we did. But when we look at the nature of some other people's essays, they really baffle me. They were unconcise, just vague, like someone who just woke up and sleep and put their essays. Those we are not going to review. We will only review essays of people that look like they really took their time to write them. So please use these tips. Go and rewatch this video again to grasp the content into detail and translate it into your individual essays such that you can make something impressive. We as mentors should not be more motivated than you who are the applicants, because this is for your own benefit, and we are just sharing this, giving forward, as Benjamin mentioned earlier on. We are not charging anything, but we thought it's the best way to do. And for those who will be successful in this session, please take it upon yourself to also mentor future Cheveners. Yvette here, I think, was one of our colleagues during the previous time. She was mentored and now she's successful. And you say she's giving it to the next people. So please, we'll be happy if you can continue this as well. So I think these are my concluding remarks. I'm going to unshare my screen, and we have 3 minutes to the top of the time of the hour. If there are any other quick questions, please go ahead and ask. I will ask Bida to repost the link on the link is already in the chat box, but if you cannot see it, Bida, could you please reshare the link?
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I see there are some hands up. I don't know whether those are new or Rejoice, you want to say something?
Okay, I think, Victor, can you lower your hand so that Rejoice could ask their question?
Okay, sorry. I didn't realize. Okay.
Yes, Rejoice.
I have question. First, I want to ask, about the universities. Okay, before attending the sessions, I try to apply for the universities. I applied for University of Bedfordshire, and then they gave me a conditional admission, but for November. So I want to know if November, like if they give November, I mean scholarship for the months of November or strictly September, and then how can I get unconditional admission? And also, they sent me list of instruction on the student visa. So I would like to know if the university is the one doing the visa processing or it's supposed to be the Chevening.
Okay, thank you, Rejoice. I get your question. I think you're actually ahead of time. And these are things that will be covered in the next essay, Studying in the UK, because it basically talks about the universities you apply to. But since you've asked it, yes, I will answer it. You are not going to apply for university for admission this year. I think already the admissions are gone. You are applying for an admission of next year, which open, I think they open around October, November, and they will continue to be open up to July next year. So you don't have pressure of applying to universities now. What you need to focus on is your Chevening application. Put all your effort there, because as for me, I actually applied to the university the following year after I was shortlisted for interview. I had not even applied yet. So you have time. And for the visas, the university will definitely cover the visa fees. And for the unconditional offer, it depends on the conditions mentioned. If it is English language, which is the common one, it means you have to, take an English language test. It could be IELTS or Pearson or TOEFL, any other language exam that is stated in your university. Yes, so I think what you asked me is not urgent. I see
Okay,
someone is saying age bracket, Marine. There is no age bracket. This scholarship is for anybody. It is open to anybody at any age who is ambitious. I've seen young people, I've seen older people, I've seen people in their 40s, I've networked with them in the UK, people in their 50s, they still got the scholarship. So no age. It's all about what you put there. Any other questions? I think we are almost on the top of the hour, and if there are no other questions, I think we are going to conclude this meeting. Bida, do you have any